Already, week 11 is here, which means it's really only 1 week away from our next Develop It project and your code review. So I've been talking about this for a little while, so now we're just moving one step closer. So just to update anyone who hasn't heard or been in contact with classes at City because you're only taking face-to-face, only taking online, not face-to-face. Just to let you know that regular classes in this week, we will be back in from suspension. Um, but as you can already see, our online classes are moving forward as normal, whatever that looks like these days. I will tell you, if you are taking face-to-face classes, the one thing I did find out is that the semester will not be extended 1 week. The instructors will and the students will have to figure out how to get that 1 week that they've missed and instruction done. So for us, again, this is fairly straightforward because we just continue as is. The only thing that will change is really our code reviews are still going to be next week. You can see that here on the schedule. So I'm recording in week 10, which I usually do a week ahead. And then the following week is our Dev 1, and it is also the week before spring break. So the one thing I've said to my students who may have varying impacts to themselves because of the quarantine, the social distancing, the upheaval in all of our lives, is that if this is something that is not, it's like, you're like, if I could just have a little more time, I'd do better. Reach out to me. Let me know. I'm willing to push this into the review, meaning when you get back from spring break. I am intending to have everyone do it before we go out for break, but I also want to offer flexibility for those who just like it's just too much right now because life is different and I'm having to adjust. I mean, one of the things you're going to see me do is where we've been using Google Hangouts for our code reviews. I'm going to switch that to Zoom. Zoom is a product that is really sanctioned by the campus. Hangouts is not. I just like Hangouts. It works well, but Zoom works great as well and does everything I need it to do and more, quite frankly. So just know that that's going to be true. And then I will have the schedule. As a matter of fact, I showed it to the other students in my 93. So let me go ahead and show it to you all as well. I've drafted the schedule. I will release it very soon. It'll look like the schedule that we had for Dev 0, except you can see all the sessions are online. And here's the breakdown. But I will say this, if you're someone that would rather do it in person, please let me know. I'm totally open to that. We can meet on campus. We can meet at Fresno City College. Even though the intention is for them to be online until some future date with all classes, right? We can still meet. We can still use City College campus to connect or again, Bitwise. But just know that, right? You need to sign up for a session for that. Okay, so I've gone over Dev 1 as well, right? So what you need to do. And I haven't updated anything here, except I had considered actually, because again, like last time, there's two parts. One, and again, I don't think I need to go over this again. Maybe in this reply, you can tell me if you have any questions regarding this. You do have to deploy to Heroku your own concept, building the CRUD operations for a full stack development, and then set up on your local system, MongoDB, Robo3T, and then write at least one query to insert a document from your concept using promises, right? So you're going to take the concept and at least write one query to do that. And this was what's great is this week we're doing that same thing, that same concept we're doing this week. And so in this week, week 11, we're really just extending or finishing up this section where in section 10, where now we ended where we connected and inserted documents. So now finish that and then learn how to do queries against them and updating and deleting. Talks more about promises. And, it's really, again, I said at the beginning of this section, right? You're learning 3 different paradigms in this course for how to handle asynchronous code. First, we're learning callbacks. Now we're learning promises. And then by the end, we'll learn async await. Async await will fill by the time we get to the end. And really, if we were to jump to that directly, you'd be kind of like, why did we learn the other ones? Meaning the other ways, the other paradigms. Because you're going to see them out in the real world or in some other kind of development project, and you want to know how to handle callbacks. You want to know how to handle promises. So that's why I think it's important to go over them, and it's just a logical step. And really, it's also an evolution of the code. You can clearly see that the code has evolved, meaning the language has evolved, and therefore we have more ways to do asynchronous. And because you have 3 different ways to do it, that's why that tells you how important it is, because a lot of what you're doing, most of what you're doing these days, is writing asynchronous code to do some type of function and either wait for that to come back until you do the next thing, because there's just so many things we're doing is reaching out to some external site or writing a file locally. And again, anything that would take a little bit of time, it's not going to happen instantly, would be a candidate for asynchronous code. And this stuff we're doing with Mongo is totally set for that. Okay. So this week, and again, it's a continuation of last week where we only did the read for the emails, right? We did the create. I want you to do the read, the update, and the delete. So you would need to do, of course, the create again last week. This week, we're doing the rest of the commands. That's what I mean, the read, the update, and the delete. And we're doing them in promises, right? So I've rolled up some of this codes because the idea, as has been the case in the past, is I want you to attempt to write this code for our email concept that we've been playing with through this class. Write those commands, those Mongo native driver commands for read, update, and delete without referencing anything. Attempt to do that. If you do need to look at my code, just say, hey, I needed to look at the code. Because in this class, and as in this profession, right, it is okay to look at somebody else's code, but you also want to attempt that on your own first. That's a very common practice, is that it really shows you where you're at in the process, right? So in like last week, just copy whatever, because you remember the way you write the promise, you get a result back. You can just output that result to a console and then just capture that in a text file that you then also then upload into your private repo. So you don't have to this week create a new directory. You can keep the same one. I think I called mine Mongo in our public repos this week. That's fine. You can go ahead and do that. So give us a link to your code again. Again, we should see an updated code. And by the way, this week, as in last week, it's not that bad to do the Learn Together work. Just another opportunity for you to be working on your Dev 1. Okay. So take this opportunity if you can, if your life allows, to work on your Dev 1, preparing for that. Like I say, you'll see me release the code review sessions earlier. One thing I just thought of on the code reviews, if that code review schedule for that week doesn't work for you, always reach out to me. We will work something out. I've just given you what I think will work best. Honestly, I do it based on 2 things: what works best for me and what I've seen students sign up for in the past. And most of them have signed up either late afternoon or early evening. That's why I set them up that way. I think that's it. Okay. All right. Have a great and wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you next week, week 12, before we head out for spring break. Peace out.